This conference will now be recorded.
18, 12.
Hi, everyone. So we are here this evening for our committee of the whole, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to ask at this time if there are any additions to the agenda this evening. Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Moved.
Moved.
Seconded.
Seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? The agenda is approved. Thank you. So this evening we have the pleasure of having a gallery presentation. So we are going to learn this evening about the Iona Highland Village. So we have M.A. McPherson, welcome, and Rodney Chasson. And Rodney, who I sit with, is the new chair of the Destination Cape Breton Association. So welcome very much.
Brenda is the new vice chair.
And I am the chair, as you all know from my committee of the whole reports that I sent out earlier this afternoon.
Well, thank you, Mayor and councillors. I'll just quickly go through a little presentation here, things that are happening in Iona. So the vision of the village certainly is to help shape and convey a sense of identity, Gaelic identity in Nova Scotia, contribute to local distinctness, place, and people. Basically, sort of in a snapshot what we're all about. We've got, we tell a Nova Scotia story and really focus on the founding values of Gaelic Nova Scotia, being language, culture, kinship. We've got 12 period buildings spread through 4 eras, starting in Gaelic Scotland in the late 1700s and the early 1800s, and then the other 3 eras focusing on how life evolved here in Nova Scotia from settlement right through until the early 1920s, really around World War I-ish. It's a natural period setting. We have costume staff doing first-person animation, so we're actually taking on personas of the people who lived in those eras, essentially our ancestors. And we really focus on providing sensorial, immersive visitor experience. So you can smell stuff going on, you can actually taste, and really get a sense of what life was like and immerse yourself in that, in those periods. And really, we're focused on sharing and celebrating the legacy of our Gaelic ancestors, and not only looking at it in terms of a period presentation and celebrating our past, but really challenging the community today to champion that legacy in the future and what we can learn from the wisdom of the past.
Sorry, Rodney, earlier, even the hills are authentic.
We're located in Iona. We're located in Victoria County, but what we tell is not an Iona story. It's a Gaelic Nova Scotia story. You can see all those areas in green. This is from the early 1900s, a map of the eastern part of the province, and actually PEI, because there's a lot of Gaelic settlement there as well. The darker the green, the higher the percentage of the people in that area that spoke Gaelic. So you can see Fort Osprey, that. So large swaths of Victoria and Inverness County, Breton County, Richmond, and parts of the mainland as well. And we are a regional and cultural tourism anchor. There we go. What we've been working on recently is a multi-year site development program. The process began in 2015. It's a $6.8 million process, or $6.8 million investment. Developed with the Nova Scotia Museum in partnership with the province, COA, Community Heritage, and Victoria County. There's 6 main elements. 3 are new construction and 3 are renovations. Sorry, 4 are new construction, 3 renovations. And also exhibits. So our Wildlife Center, which is the centerpiece of the project, is a new 7,700 square foot year-round facility. Features visitor reception, exhibitions, which I'll talk about in a minute. Our library archives, genealogy, which is our Shenica Center, which I'll also talk about in a minute. We've got a new multi-purpose programming space, which we call the tuning room. Gift shop, commercial kitchen, administrative offices. The building itself is constructed in passive house design, so it's high energy efficient standard, but really focuses on building envelope. We had a soft opening this year as we start to get moved in, and we're looking at having our official opening in spring of 2023. And there's some pictures. The top left is the new gift shop. The top right is looking out over the stage and on site from the tuning room. The bottom left is looking down from the hill And the other photo is actually looking into what will be one of our exhibition spaces. The Shenanigans Center, which I mentioned, has been named in memory of Jim St. Clair. David Romsuit is a good friend of Jim and a great philanthropist, has provided us with some funding in Jim's memory. And this features our library and archives, our roots keeper genealogy, materials and service, Jim's papers as well, which we are split between us and the Beaton. And we're in the process now of doing a project with the Beaton to go through, sort, and order the materials. And then with David Rumsey's help again, with a separate donation through the Beaton, we'll be digitizing the materials. So we're quite excited about that. We've got Joe McLean's collection of fiddle manuscripts, which is arguably one of the biggest collection of fiddle manuscripts in the world. We've got Donnie Campbell's collection of Gaelic recordings, Celtic Serenade, Carl Mackenzie, and there's a whole raft of stuff that's coming in the next little while. So we're quite excited about this. It really provides a great focal point for the new Welcome Center as well. Exhibits, orientation. The first two exhibits there will be in the new Welcome Center. Orientation, we really want to give visitors a sense of why who the Gaels are, who we are, and why they left Scotland in the first place, to prepare them for their journey through time on site. And then our living history site sort of wraps up in the World War I, early 1920s era. And then we just sort of say, see you. So what we want to do with this exhibit is really focus on what's happened to Gaelic language and culture and our story over the last 100 years, and provide a bit of a challenge to visitors to get involved, or if they're not from here, to get involved with their own culture where they're from. We're also working with the Mi'kmaq community to develop some interpretation kiosk on site, and also to enhance how we tell the story, not only of the Mi'kmaq, but also the relationship between the Mi'kmaq and Gaels in a regular interpretation. And we've got a 5-panel interpretive kiosk going on behind the church that talks about the Fiddler Lakes biosphere. Quite excited about those. The Shingle Mill is a new addition to the site. This is a 500 square foot timber frame building that we constructed. The exciting part is actually what's in the building, which is the working equipment that comes back ETEs. We've adapted it because it has to meet modern safety standards, but the mill itself is a great addition to the site. And it comes with quite a story because it's one of 4 mills that survived following a factory fire in Boston. It was put on a ship headed for Newfoundland but sunk in the Fiddler Lakes. The gentleman that salvaged it ran it for a little while, went bankrupt, and then finally the Cash family operated for decades, along with the grist mill and ferry mill. So we're very pleased to have that, and we officially opened that this past September. One of our older storage buildings we turned into an on-site activity center for programming and a green room for our church. These are new washroom building next to the normal washrooms aren't too terribly exciting, but this particular building helps us with our growing cruise ship market and really helps us process the cruise ship folks through the site faster, which gives them more time on site because they are rushed to get back to the boat maintenance workshop, and then our old visitor center returning into the curatorial center, which will house our deck storage as well as our costume department, which will be focusing a little bit more for visitor engagement as well. So we're quite excited about all that. Our total project cost was $6.8 million. We started out at 3.6, but with COVID costs, and then the province decided to include us as well in their stimulus package, so we grew the project a little bit. So we're up to 6.8 million, which we're really excited about. Victoria County doing 100,000, province community 4.2 million, government of Canada 1.4, which is 1.2 from COA, and 270,000 from Native Heritage, which left us with our goal, community private sector fundraising goal of $1 million. And we're in the last phase, and that last 300,000 yet to go. So we've been quite pleased with the response we've gotten from community and some private sector friends that have been very generous with us over the last couple of years. Going forward, this is really a game changer for us because it provides us with great capacity to grow the village. 2019, just prior to COVID, we had 26,000 visitors between May and October of that year. That was the 5th consecutive year of year-over-year growth, and the 3rd consecutive year of record visitation for us. Then COVID happened. We all know the story about that. This year, we're actually back up to about 85% of where we were in 2019. Had Fiona not shut down the Port of Sydney for a week or more, probably would have been pretty close to 2019, done over it. So we do have a solid foundation for moving forward. This is our strategic plan, some of the elements from our last strategic plan that we were basing on going forward with, so strengthening the story. And there's all kinds of elements in our program that do that. Immersive experiences, we're continuing to build programming. I'm very glad to have programming back on site this year after a 2-year hiatus. Enhanced site tours, developing new partnerships with not just people in the heritage and cultural community, but also outside the community as well. And we really define our community. We've got a Gaelic community, we've got our Gaelic cultural community, part of the tourism community, and of course, we're part of the whole different island. And then team recruitment and retention. This is really focused on HR stuff, as almost everybody that's running anything these days is. So as our story continues, certainly we're into our 63rd year. We're actually 63 as of this month. And we're working hard to continue to share and promote Gaelic Nova Scotia to our community and to our visitors. As I mentioned, continue to develop a wide range of offerings, building on those foundations, and then returning strong post-COVID. We're also looking at a lot of things, things that are happening globally because the nature of the museum is changing. It's beyond just storing, preserving, and interpreting old things, but also becoming involved in community change. So I see this museum changes lives. It's actually a UK museum promotion, and really getting museums to become involved in the community for change. One example I really like to give is even the Maritime Museum in Halifax, which does a boat building program for disenfranchised youth. So there's certainly opportunities there. We've talked within the cultural community here about providing opportunities for women through craft, and of course, we're not far from the Marsh River, so certainly some opportunities there. So we're looking forward to those. And Capole, Alan, and Nessie, thank you.
Thank you so much, Rodney. I guess I would open up the floor for any questions or comments from council.
Just, when was the grand opening again? In the spring, this spring?
It'll be in May or June.
There's no definite date yet?
No.
And Jim's, you said he has paper there. Do you have his book there also?
His book.
He wrote a book there. He gave it to me and signed it. He used to sit in the RDA with me for years.
Is that the McCollum House book?
No, it was recipes and.
The one he did with the
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
We've got that library.
Yeah, it was quite a book.
Nancy's.
Yeah,
Nancy's Wedding Feast.
Wedding Feast, yeah.
Yeah. I remember that.
Well, that's nice. That's nice. That's a good tribute to Jim.
Yeah, Jim was a big influence.
Yeah, it was very historical for sure.
Has everybody here had the opportunity to go to the Highland Village yet? Not yet. The summer coming. There's Hill. There's Hill.
I just wondered if you can tell us what grand opening is.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, so I guess once the grand reopening happens, yeah, just to keep us in mind, just to flip us that information, although I'm sure we'll be hearing it at the destination friend.
Do we now and then?
But I'm happy to flip to council because I think it's a really great opportunity. It's part of our culture, part of our story as well. And I'm assuming as well that there, if there's anything council would consider when we come up to our new budget discussions, that perhaps so we should be keeping you in mind in terms of your community fundraising. We'll definitely do that. Any other questions? Are you sure?
happy to be able to talk about the Highland Village. I've been on the board for 8 years, and we're very happy to talk about the work that we've been doing. So thank you for the invitation.
Oh, listen, it's been a pleasure.
And I'm going to leave with you, this is our case for our capital campaign, more information. And it's a little booklet we put together, it's a souvenir booklet at the site, filled with all kinds of Gaelic proverbs.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm hoping some of those Gaelic words will rub off on you.
I'd say around the table here, most grandparents spoke Gaelic.
Oh, probably.
I don't mind hearing many times. It's something, oh, what's going on? When I was a kid, we were speaking Gaelic out. They're all chasing.
He's an Oak Point. He's from the place that wasn't lit up in green. I don't know if there's a red, like, if you use red for the Canadians.
It's a red like his top. Exactly.
There's probably several other Donald McDougalls.
Good. That's a mix up at times for sure.
The same issues in the Acadian communities, like how many Joe Sampsons were there in one stretch that we're going to.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
So just before you
Go ahead.
So
Councillor.
just a quick question. In terms of seasonal employees, how many are employed at the Highland Village?
We've got 5 year rounds. This year we had 35, like permanent seasonal, and then we had another 10 summer students.
And is that like up from 2019 or would it be about the same number?
It's about the same.
Yep.
We were able to keep our staffing fairly consistent the last few years, even in spite of COVID with the federal wage subsidy. That was sort of our primary concern going into 2020 with the closures, was how we were going to make sure that we kept our staff being able to put food on their tables.
Right.
So we were quite pleased to be able to do that.
And in terms of operating funds, the province contributes?
We're funded about 60% from the province, and then the rest of it we raise through admissions, gift shops,
Yeah.
sales, and fundraising. And then whatever other project programs we're involved with.
So you must be very proud of what's going on, that this is a.
Oh,
fantastic
absolutely.
improvement.
This is quite excited
Yeah.
with this development. It's been a long time.
And then you mentioned cruise ships, so that's a pretty significant part to it.
In 2019, 38% of our visitation was cruise. So huge part of our business. That had been growing for years.
Yes, yeah.
So let's say the last 2 years we've never. This year we're quite pleased with the way it bounced back. And we're a little concerned that you should be coming from all over the place and boats and there are all kinds of things. It was always norovirus before and stuff like that. But everything went this year without a hitch. The only hitch was a rainy field.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, no, people were pleased to be back. And we were pleased to see people back.
You must make a ton of money off those rock suckers, because I'm telling you, like Finley and all of his friends emptied my purse the last time I went. Parent volunteer on a class trip, like us a load of kids. They're like, I didn't know you could buy suckers. I was just handing them to you. Because they were all different colors, different flavors. Go ahead. Councillor or Deputy Mayor Matuka.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, just, I guess you kind of answered it, the visitations that you have, is there a record of that? Is there a number for the year?
I don't have the number for this year yet, but it's in the 80, 85 range of 2019. 2019, it was just shy of 26,000. We're probably, out of all the Nova Scotia museum sites, I think we're the 5th most populated of 20, visited of 28 sites.
Wow.
Yes, yeah.
It's a very unique product, having that living history. Like you can, like you said, you can smell it. You get a small kind of flavor of even kind of living it as you're going through the different.
Yeah, and now we can have
Buildings.
shingles, so if you come enough, you probably shingle your house.
I was noticing the picture with like some of the smaller kids, and whenever we go visit, we see some kids like dressed in period clothing, and it's like, oh. how do you get a gig like that? I know my son Finley, he started asking me how he could make money when he turned 10, so I was like, maybe I'll send him up your way.
Well, we did our Halloween program 2 weeks ago, and we had volunteers from Mabu and from Red Islands that drove 2 nights, 3 times to get to Iona to do that.
Isn't that, I think that's such an incredible experience for kids too. Anyway, but thank you so much for taking the time to come.
Thank you.
and chat
you.
with us.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. Take care. All right. So next we have council reports on assigned committees. I know Jason did submit email report as well as I did. But certainly if council wishes to give some verbal reports, who would like to go first?
I'll go first, Your Worship. Well, I only had the two that Jason had mentioned, that I went was the council committee and the housing.
Yep, perfect.
Yes, Your Worship, just to keep it short, I think all the committee meetings have been mentioned.
Yes.
And as we said last meeting, that we did our advertisement, and any, I guess, local committees that I'm the chair won't be calling meetings till the new year.
Once
So
we know the new.
once we get the new people on board and our regional committees, they can be called, I guess, at any time.
Councilor.
Yes, October 20th, Eastern Counties Regional Library, we had an education session around equity, diversity, and inclusion, which was really powerful presentation, and that was for the board members. On October 24th, we met with consultants who are looking at ways to address concerns of the Council of the District of St. Mary's around the level of service that they have, and this is a consultant that the province has engaged to help us reach some agreement in terms of going forward. And they're going to be submitting the final report soon to the province. And then, of course, just as the Deputy Mayor mentioned, and Council Committee was on November 7th, the Council Committee selection meeting and the municipal engagement meeting for housing needs was yesterday.
Perfect, thank you so much. And at any point, if anybody has any questions with regard to my report, feel free to reach in anytime. Any other committee reports? All right, I guess we will move on then to CAO reports. I'll hand things over to Erin for these presentations.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'll hand it over to Michelle to provide a brief report on marketing, recreation, tourism, and culture.
Good evening and through you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. I'll start off my report this evening with a brief report on the Strait Area Trails. They're doing some great work over on the trails, and I included a separate report. So you can see actually the two photos on the screen there. They've recently done some ditching and trenching on the trail by the basketball courts and the tech trail. So that was due to some washout caused by Hurricane Fiona. So there was a need to have the side ditch repaired, some stone added, gravel reinstated on the trail. And they're anticipating emergency funds from the province, to which application will be made once it's announced. Very fortunate that they didn't experience a greater amount of windfall, and they have, however, removed any trees which have been affected by the high winds and have fallen directly on the trails. So they've done some great work there. They also installed a new sign on the Maple Trail Bridge, on that new bridge they installed there, and that was some funding that they received from the TD Let's Get Outside grant. And so they've installed that sign just as a note of sponsorship and support for that specific area of the trails. And some really exciting news on the trail counters that they installed, and you can just see at the bottom of the screen there, between August 30th and November 9th, which is when the report was produced. They had 4,079 trail users on the tech trail and 3,150 trail users on the Maple Trail. So these numbers are going to be really important going forward, particularly with funding requests and knowing which areas of the trail that might need the most maintenance and that have the most usage. So just really exciting to have that going. They do monitor those numbers weekly, and they pull them from an app. So really neat to see, in fact, just how well utilized the trail system is in those two areas specifically. It'd be really great to have them all over the trail system in the future. So really kind of neat to see that in black and white, and just to see the value that the trails offer the community. And just moving on to some upcoming recreation programming. Again, the Christmas parade is slated for December 4th at 6 p.m. So hope to see you all there participating and out there with the community. New this year is a new partnership with and another partnership with the Autism Society Strait Area chapter. The parade this year will feature a sensory-friendly section of the parade, and that is going along Old Sydney Road. So we will release a graphic map coming up shortly. So in that section of the parade, the floats will dim flashing lights, make them solid, and also lower the music to just have that sensory friendly section. So really nice to be able to offer that to the community and to those folks who would benefit from that. And then prior to the parade that day, December 4th, the department will host some family activities as usual, and a visit from the big guy himself with some treats and hot chocolate. We will have, again this year, sensory sensitive Santa visits, and they will happen the day before on December 3rd at the Port Hawkesbury Civic Center. Also planning the first night celebration on December 31st. It'll be held in the afternoon and will include a video skate, snacks, children's activities, a dance party, and a New Year's Eve countdown. Some other things coming up. Paint nights, Christmas craft events for children, some free swims, free skates. We've also teamed up with Port Hawkesbury Paper to offer a free community skate as well as a free community swim, and those will happen during the Christmas break. Swimming lessons will be finishing up in December and will resume the end of January. Staff are working on transferring from the Red Cross Learn to Swim to the Life Saving Society, so it's just a different governing body there. And the Red Cross will no longer be offering swim instruction and leadership programs, so we're just switching over to a new platform for those. We'll be offering some additional lifeguard training and water safety training in the new year. Music programs, yoga, and basketball clinic will finish up before the holidays and will resume in the new year again, along with other programs. Drop-in pickleball, basketball, and soccer at the Sarek Gym will also continue running through the winter. And so you'll see the winter flyer coming out early in the new year. Upcoming shows and events. We have Gunning Cormier Christmas happening in a couple of weeks already on December 1st. 'Tis the Season on December 10th, and we are just about to announce a second show added because that one is sold out already. So we'll be adding a second show on December 11th, which is the Sunday evening. And the Barra McNeils will be coming to share their East Coast Christmas show with us on December 15th. We added a St. Patrick's Day weekend show with the Privateers. So that will be on Saturday, March 18th. So we're really excited about that one. And Red Tribe Boxing is coming, and that's a slight date change from my last report, just a week earlier on May 20th. In terms of grants and sponsorships and bid packages, unfortunately, we were unsuccessful in our bid for the IIHF World Juniors pre-comp training. And so Hockey Canada really just stated proximity to the main rinks in Halifax and Moncton, and really not wanting the athletes to travel more than 90 minutes. So that was really the only reason. They only required 5 arenas, and I think they got 13 bids. So however, they did share that if they had an opportunity to share tickets to some of those events, that they would certainly reach out to us and partner with some of our youth organizations. So I was really happy to accept that and look forward to hopefully hearing from them about that. Apart from that, in terms of marketing and media, our total page likes grew again, growing really every month from 4,037 to 4,068 over the last month. And that is my report. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Any questions for Michelle? Thank you so much for your time, Michelle.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
All right, we'll move forward to Jason McMillan, the Manager of Engineering and Public Works.
A bit of a sad story too.
Yeah.
Sad
Always great.
stories and sad pictures.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm really getting the whole report out, but I'm ready to- well, prior to the meeting tonight, the traffic sign has been moved as we indicated in our last report, and it's located on Randall Street adjacent to Sunset Park area. Data shows that this is most certainly a higher traffic zone than some of the previous placements where the sign has been, and generally showing, although there is, a fairly tall graph bar with speeds above the 56 km/h range, that the fair majority of traffic is driving within acceptable speed ranges for that street, which is good to see. Federal Active Transportation Fund. We've been provided with the draft contribution agreement from the ACF fund, and we're in the process of responding with a copy of that agreement and providing the accompanying documents to back to the federal government with that. So that's well in the works. Water Street Boardwalk project. This is coming along quite nicely, actually. We're pleased with the progress so far. Just listed some of the highlighted work completed and work to be completed in the next couple of weeks. I'm sure most of you have likely been down to the waterfront recently. You'll notice that the new timber posts have been installed. The knee rail concrete end caps have been installed for areas that the shoreline is fairly close to where the asphalt surface is going to be. The rest area concrete has been placed, and today the contractor is mainly working on backfilling those areas and applying the gravel prior to asphalt. So it's going to come together fairly quick. And we have compaction testing scheduled for tomorrow afternoon, and we'll likely see asphalt on the trail section. I would anticipate within the next week or so, as long as weather permits, which is great. After that, we'll see Ocean subcontractor community replace the utility poles, and then we'll just recapping the board. Public Works highlights, well, not much of a highlight. Yeah, it's
No, it's not the kind of exciting we're
no,
hoping for.
exactly. That was a rough Sunday evening call to get.
Pose?
I know that everyone has been briefed on the status of this issue, and I'll just keep the response short, but it is quite untimely to have this type of significant loss leading into the winter. We have been working through the appropriate response with our insurance company and various adjusters to work through issues related to the building and fleet and content. So that's all coming together. And just, comments on some of the temporary measures that we put in place to help deal with maintaining operations through the winter and storage, temporary storage and temporary office spaces. So all of that stuff is kind of coming together as well. We received two new sea cans that are in our storage yards. We have a temporary office trailer that we're tomorrow. Coordinating utility communication services for that building. That'll happen fairly quick after it arrives as well. So we've ordered a lot of supplies to replace materials that were lost and made temporary arrangements for fleet vehicles and heavy equipment. So I must say that things are coming together, which is nice to see. I want to say a huge thank you and sincere gratitude to the members of the Port Hawkesbury Volunteer Fire Department for the response that evening. It was outstanding. I know things would have gone worse. We didn't get the amazing response from those members at that time. And a thank you to a lot of the local contractors and vendors who reached out to us right away just to offer support with anything that they could help us with, whether that be heavy equipment or materials and supplies, things like that. So it's nice to see that we are a small community and everybody tends to look after. And lastly, the public works staff should be looking for their adaptability and resiliency when we're all positive to be given the circumstances of fire and the added pressures that this type of event kind of imposes on those staff while trying to maintain the work that we do. So that's my report for this period. I'd be happy to answer any.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jason. Any questions for Jason? Go ahead, Councilor.
Yes, Your Worship, through you. At the waterfront, Jason, where you have the knee wells, the concrete knee wells,
Yes.
is there armor stone or is there planned armor stone to go behind them on the shore at this time?
A lot of the armor stone that was on the road side has been moved over. And we identified areas that needed extra armor stone, and that was noted on the drawings.
Okay.
So, for instance, there was a couple of football pipes that didn't have enough protection. So, a lot of those large stones were moved over in those areas. Those posts, once the asphalt is in, those posts will be cut off to the proper grade.
Yeah.
There'll be brackets and another timber member attached to the top of them. But to answer your question specifically, right now, it's not a project to add additional stone on the back side of that finished timber.
Okay, because not the timber side of it, but just the concrete side of it, as long as there's no chance of it being eroded underneath. And I know years ago, you probably noticed that there's a bigger part of armor stone there.
Yes. Yeah.
We had put that, we had added that.
Yeah.
And if it was going to happen, or this is the time to do it before it's paid and everything, because you'd have to have an excavator sit there to place a lot of it.
Right. No, that's a really good point. When we were looking at design for that piece, that was one of the main reasons why we chose to put that curved concrete wall, curb wall section in. It was to help protect the erosion and undermining of the asphalt surface in areas where the asphalt is getting more close to the shoreline than other areas. So Yeah, I thought WSP thought of that and we kind of put that control measure in, but we can certainly work that.
Well, I just mentioned it just because before paving, it's easier to get it done.
Absolutely.
If it needs a little bit of armor stone along there,
Yeah,
it wouldn't hurt to do.
yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? For the deputy?
Mr. Worship, through you, just, I don't know, I was going to add this to the agenda, but I figured I'd wait there to the, as part of the committee. I don't know if there's anything we can do, Jay, or, but the road when you're coming from the mall, when you turn onto Reeve Street, where that yield sign is. Now, the yield sign is there, and there's a lot of times, Councilor Coyne being around town a lot, driving might notice this too. But when you're coming there, if you have to yield, I understand that. And then you're looking at the traffic coming, but the guardrail there, and it's been hit a couple of times. Guys at work told me that one guy hit it and his wife, and another fellow's wife either hit it or called 911 when somebody else hit it. And you can see where it was hit a couple of times. But it seems to be sticking out as you turn to go onto Reeve Street. I don't know if we can talk to the province or if he can do anything.
I can certainly pass along.
If you can pass that along.
That's on the right turn channel.
Right off front four going up to Reeves.
Yeah, exactly. Front floor going onto Reeves, there's a yield sign. Sometimes they don't yield, but that's a mental problem. But I think, I'm not an engineer, but it seems to be stuck out a little.
Yeah, no, I've seen that. I'll certainly pass that on.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
One thing I will say about some of the concerns that have recently been passed along from me on behalf of council to the local Nova Scotia Public Works Group, the response has been pretty good. And they deserve some recognition for that. They've been quite quick to respond to emails and get folks out in the field and actually resolve some issues in a reasonable period.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Do you have any comment on Jason?
Any other questions for Jason?
Yes, through you, your worship. Jason, do you just want to expand a little bit on terms of the Federal Act of Transportation Fund? Can you just elaborate what that funding is for?
Yeah, so that fund was, it's a program that was offered to us, I believe, last year. We believe we talked about it in our capital operations, early 22. We put a project together to look at two main pieces. One is continuing detailed engineering and design of a potential AT connector project for Tamarack Drive, to continue with that detailed engineering. And the other piece is replacement of sidewalk sections along Sydney Road and Uncrest Drive in Tamarack. And what that does, it'll establish a safer service connection between Granville Street all the way through to Tamarack, essentially. People able to utilize the crossing at Sydney Road and Reeves, and then walk along the already established multi-use pathway through Tamarack. So it's really all about making connections, and we're fortunate enough to have our application approved. And we're just working through that agreement process with the federal government.
Yeah, and what was the amount that was approved?
The amount, like the total project was just under
496,000,
Yeah,
I believe,
just under
and
what?
roughly 300,000 is through the federal AT project, or federal AT fund.
Yeah, I think it's 64.
That was in part of the announcement that was made on the waterfront with Allen and Gilway. that part of that AT infrastructure?
I think that was the ACOA funding for the waterfront.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. 'Cause we're still working through the contribution agreement, right? Yeah.
Just one final question, Your Worship. Just looking at the traffic numbers, Jason, like you say, the majority of vehicles are traveling at the limit.
Yeah.
They're abiding by the speed limit. But if you move up and you look at the speeds 66 to 70, right? That would be, I'm looking at, would that be close to 400 vehicles?
66 to 70, to me, it looks to be very close to the 400 mark, if not slightly over. So, I mean,
So I guess, sorry.
yeah.
So I guess that's a concern though. Like if there's 400, over 400 vehicles traveling between 66 and 70 kilometers, you know, it's great to know that the majority of vehicles are abiding by the
Right.
limit. That's a pretty significant number too, to be going in excess, with that sort of excessive speed.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure what the total vehicle count is within this range, but it's likely upwards of 10,000 vehicles traveling through there. So 400 vehicles in excess of that speed certainly is concern quite a small percentage in the overall, but it's certainly worth passing this information along to the local catchment, and which we've done in the past. And it's important to make them aware of the traffic trends in the areas. And they certainly find this information useful and employ patrols in town streets based on a lot of the feedback that we push out.
The deputy mayor was just pointing out how studious of reading up the graph, and it's 403.
Well, you're very close. Yeah.
You were very
Mr.
accurate.
Collins, correct.
Be nice to know the times.
Well, that's what I was thinking as well. That
It's a
could be
small percentage, but it's
could be
probably early
early in the morning,
Early at
folks
night.
scooting along to work and home.
to work at the mill.
Where's that one at? I'll tell you if I was involved.
Or going to the mill.
You're one of the.
Stand by Sunset Park, you're okay.
You're good.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
You're not one of those.
We got the other one.
No, you're safe.
No other questions?
No, I think we're good.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so much, Jason.
Great report, Jim.
So I'll do just a quick update on the facilities, operations, and parks on behalf of Gordy Snook. So the new Zamboni is ordered. We are supposed to have it mid-November, which is now, so we should be expecting that in the next coming days or weeks. The food bank project is well underway. The majority of construction started in early October. Siding is happening. The walk-in cooler and freezer should be installed by the end of the month. So that's moving along as per schedule. The charging units that were approved through the budget process were installed and are powered now and are sitting across the parking lot at the Civic Center. So there's SIM cards and user training information that we anticipate to arrive this week to make those functional. That's it for that report. Did you have any questions? Pretty
I
straightforward.
do have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is the Zamboni coming wrapped?
No,
So that was just a picture.
that picture, I don't believe that's our Zamboni. I could be wrong. Maybe it is.
Well, if it was coming wrapped, you would know, I think.
I didn't hear that it was coming wrapped, but I could not have that information, but I think that's a picture of what it could
Okay.
look like.
Any other questions?
Just a quick question, maybe Councillor Coyne knows this because Linda brought it up to me. There were some issues with the boards.
Yeah, so Gordy and I walked through the other day, and there is something broke there that he's going to have fixed shortly.
I don't think we want to let that go.
No, and you know, we have an Atlantic Championship coming up here in March. And I know we don't really want to spend too much money, but if we look at our boards, a lot of the Lexonic was over the top of the ads that are broken, and I think that we're going to be hosting the Atlantic Championship, that should maybe be addressed.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right. So our next item is other business. So I did,
Just to, do you
Sure.
have another report?
the finance report.
Finance? I thought so.
I figured you
I'm
would
doing
have.
nothing.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I just thought this, no problem.
She's Terry right now.
I know. Just doing nothing.
Terry doesn't do work for it.
Part time, really.
I'm not gonna see the
We're giving her a free pass
picture. I'm not
here.
gonna see the picture of him.
Kind of a school about it.
You must really miss him. Like, he's like looking for Terry in the pictures now.
Well, I look like a down the boardwalk there.
I kind of look like I'm a little bit, yeah, it could be him. Just, we miss you, Terry. Okay. I think you're doing a bad job there.
Thank
All right.
you. I miss him
So
too.
basic income, now, I did forward some information that was forwarded to me by Whit Mason, counselor from HRM. There was a kind of an engagement session, information session that was on the 9th of November. If council wishes, I will see if that session was recorded or if there will be some kind of report that will evolve from that. We'll forward it to council for consideration, and if over the next couple of months, if council wishes to follow suit with some of the other municipalities who have forwarded their support for the basic income now movement, we can definitely do so. I just added it this evening just to put it on our radar.
Okay.
All right, the next item is the 2022 holiday schedule. Acting CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship, for you. So time of the year where we do have conversations about our holiday schedule, and as for a previous number of years, we're looking at closing administrative offices at the end of day on December 23rd, and observing the holidays in between, reopening on Tuesday, January 3rd. The employees would use vacation for 2 of those days in order to be off for that period of time. The other days would be covered through holidays, statutory holidays. The part of that would be because we do month-end interest. If folks aren't able to get in during that time, we always delay the application of interest until we've had time to come back and process the mail and ensure people are able to come in and make their payment at the window. So that means that interest would be relieved until end of day, January 4th, 2023. Yeah, just the typical schedule for the attachment. And I think, we may want to have some discussion at our next meeting around the Tuesday, January 3rd public meeting, which would be the day we return. So maybe something we may want to look at. Even getting the agenda package out December 23rd before we leave and having that meeting, or if it's the wishes of council, it could be from that day, but we can have that conversation at our next meeting.
Yeah.
So you're looking for a consensus to move forward with that, to bring forward to the December joint public. And
anybody have any comments or questions?
Yes, Your Worship, through you, just one question. I guess we have the same question
Every year.
every year. Every year. If the staff doesn't have vacation days, how do we go around that?
so the building, we're closed on the 25th, and I think the 26th we're open for ice typically. So the building is open those days because the arena is still operating, and we've always worked with individuals. And if they want to work during that time, that's okay. It's just that the offices are not open to the public.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Yeah, do we have consensus to move this forward to our
Yes.
public meeting?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next agenda item, okay, which is the thank you welcome event for our council committee members. So I just added this so that we have a quick conversation in terms of, what your thoughts are. And I know at last week's public meeting, Councilor McIver, you had mentioned that, we should definitely, give some time to see what new committee members may, who may put their name forward for the different committees. And it was part of the special committee recommendations that both Mark, Hughie, and I put forward to council that were adopted last week. And our thoughts are to have an opportunity, of course, for council to get together to talk about, what our vision would be for our local committees, but then have the opportunity to bring all of our returning volunteers, but also new incoming volunteers to do kind of a thank you for helping us grow for Hawkesbury, but also an opportunity maybe like we did earlier in our term, use some of that time maybe as a little bit of an orientation for some of the newer members, and also, have some conversations. What are some of the vision items that some of the new members and its returning members have for each of those committees as well? So we can meet somewhere in the middle and set some goals for the next 2 years. So I guess I would be looking for some feedback from you in terms of, like, do you see this happening maybe in January? Go ahead.
Yes, so through you, in I know the last one we had was good, but it was mostly, and I like the idea, but it was mostly going over the terms of reference.
Yeah.
And especially for newer, if there's a lot of newer members, we can maybe focus on the terms of reference.
Sure, that could be one aspect of it.
One aspect for sure.
Yeah, no, that's a great suggestion. Okay. And I know we do have some changes that were part of our recommendations for the terms of references that we should review.
So I do have a question.
Sure.
Should we not have a session, thank you for the people who have served?
Oh,
And then
yeah.
a separate for a welcoming?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think if we're thanking people for being on committees and then they're not staying on these committees,
Well, we can still thank them and still
But no.
welcome.
but do we want to have that the same night that we're going over terms of reference and coming up with new ideas? I think it should be two separate events myself.
I don't know.
Sorry, Your Worship. I think the terms of reference review, I don't know that every committee member, or new committee member, needs to sit through a meeting to listen to the terms of reference for all committees. I think that can be reviewed at the initial meetings of the new committees.
Sure.
And yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. And I don't know if it's kind of like the same as Councillor Coyle was thinking. But so if you just clarify what you mean by the thank you and the welcome event. Just,
Okay. So we certainly would extend an invitation to all the new incoming members, as well as the returning members and the outgoing members, just to thank them for their time and also welcome. So we're thanking and we're welcoming in the same event. And it gives an opportunity as well for some of the folks who may not be staying on to have some conversations with some of the newer ones, just to impart some of that, kind of historical knowledge about, we really like to see this happen. Good luck, go get them type stuff. So, so just kind of combine it as a thank you and a welcome. And then we're getting a lot of people in the room that are all kind of working on similar goals, like kind of cross committee goals. And we certainly did combine housing and economic development because there was a lot of synergies and overlap. But like, wouldn't it be great for some of the folks on waterfront development having conversations with some of the folks from recreation and just getting excited about all the potential for all the different areas around town. And maybe we can, as a council, talk a little bit about some of the vision that we have for the town and talk about our strategic priorities and then maybe have some roundtable discussions for each of the committees and just figure out how we can make it really engaging and fun without it being super boring. And there'll be cookies and whatever other sweets and coffee and caffeine.
Yes, we're through you. I guess I don't disagree with the thank you, welcome, but I think it's Jason and Blaine were with the terms of reference meeting and stuff like that. I think that would kind of get long. And some of the older members might not want to hear it again.
Sure, we can push that to the maybe the first meeting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, I agree with that.
Or even have it, if they want to take it with them.
Or give them a copy so that they,
Yeah, you can have it as an optional piece of information that you take with it if you
Yeah.
want to be cleaners.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, sounds good. So I guess maybe we don't need to determine a date yet at this point, but I guess once we know a little bit about, perhaps a volunteer appreciation event. Sure.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle. I wasn't sure what he was pointing at.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt while you were talking,
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I think it's cool, too.
absolutely. I think this was something that we wanted, yeah, to kind of piggyback off of the kind of the new net we passed for new folks, and also to thank the folks that may not be returning to committees. But it has been, I think it's been a while since we did our volunteer appreciation event. So that may be something that we as a council want to put on our radar when we start our budget discussions in January and February. Because maybe it's overdue now that COVID is,
We can just,
certainly not winding down by any extent, but also
Relax.
maybe it's time to look at doing that this year. It's been,
sometime meet and greet.
yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great idea. So if there's, I guess, no other discussion, we can just move on.
That's good, thank you.
Okay, so as you all recall, part of our short-term goals for our accessibility plan was to reach out via correspondence from council to our local gas stations to request that they give some special accommodations to people of all ages and all abilities. So I did notice I don't know, is it a Petro-Canada that's just off of, not here, just in Antigonish County, just before you get into the town of Antigonish? There's like a Tim Hortons and is
Shell,
that a Shell?
Shell needs.
So I noticed they have like a sign that with a number you can call, if you require extra help, so that somebody will come out and assist. And it's not something that they don't have a full service option, but they do have the option that if someone does pull up, they can phone that number and somebody from inside will come out and assist. So it's not that we're, wanting to impact the bottom line of the two gas stations that we have here in town, but can they kind of build in some special accommodations for folks like Matthew Higgins, who brought that challenge to our accessibility committee as our co-chair. Maybe there's a certain time of day on certain days of the week that they can offer that kind of a service, so that it would just bridge a little bit of that gap. So if council is, obviously approved the accessibility plan, so what we'll do is we'll work, maybe Gordy, myself, and Terry can work on a draft letter and flip it to council for your consideration. And if you're okay with it, then we'll send it off to our
Correct.
gas
Maybe
stations.
through you, your worship, maybe contact Needs, because they did offer that at first.
They did originally.
Find out why they stopped offering it, just what was the reason.
It was
Then we can move from
probably a
there.
payroll reason,
Could be,
or maybe,
because they would have to have 2 staff anyway, every day, if they were doing it. I don't know if they still do or not.
so yeah, so if we can kind of, and maybe do a little bit of research on some examples of what are done in lieu of having full
Well,
service.
as you were saying, there may be why they quit it. Maybe there's not a big need for it,
Mhm.
but maybe if we had a number, as you were saying, that you could call and then they could accommodate, would be good.
Yeah, or even working with the town so that if they were willing to do special accommodations on certain days of the week, we could, make sure we share that information out into the community, post it on our website, work with the Chamber of Commerce to share that information so that you know, folks who have to leave town for full service because they simply can't, you know, use the self-service fueling option, you know, that will keep some of those folks in town instead of them having to leave town unnecessarily. Okay, perfect. Thank you for your support on that one. And we don't have any additions, future meetings. Okay, so we are looking at a joint public meeting in the whole December 13th, followed by our public meeting of January 3rd. Had you mentioned, Erin, was there a challenge with meeting that date?
Just, it was something that Terry did mention that might be something we want to look at, but I think
Sure.
right now, I think that will be the date. And if there needs to be further discussion on that, then we will bring that up at a later date with council.
Because the Monday would be the observance
Exactly.
of the January
Okay.
1st. Well, it is, so I would recommend that if we do look at the 10th for our public meeting, that we might consider doing the 24th for our committee, just to
Give it a little time.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
because we had a public meeting last week and committee of the whole,
Yeah.
you know, some of the information being shared is a little redundant, because there just hasn't been enough time for new stuff. But we can, yeah, that's a simple email to council, just to pull folks to make sure there's availability,
Yep.
time for us to advertise. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Move. Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, meeting is adjourned. Hockey game.
We're late.
Fuck, man.